Tonight, we take a behind-the-scenes look at tracking the worst sex offenders in our neighborhood.
Dangerous enough, they are forced to wear GPS tracking devices on their ankles. Brandy Hitt in the newsroom with who is protecting you from them.
Pals and Sam, she carries a badge, a gun, and some of the best GPS technology available. Tonight, we follow a parole agent whose job is to track high-risk sex offenders' every single move. Agent Wendy Johnson tracks 20 high-risk sex offenders on her own, the worst of the worst out of prison and on parole.
I need you to know that I'm watching you.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this agent, armed with a badge and a gun, uses the latest GPS technology, even searches their homes in an effort to protect your families.
Have you had any of your parolees go back?
Yes. I have had parolees to ask me to lock them up.
We take you with us as we follow Agent Johnson a little later tonight, right here on the CBS 13 News at 10.
She looks like a remarkable woman. Thanks, Brandy. Look forward to that later on tonight here.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She is tracking some of the state's worst sex offenders using GPS technology. Later tonight, I go with her to show you how she's protecting your families. This one local agent is assigned to track 20 high-risk sex offenders wearing GPS tracking devices.
We know them very well, but you can never predict what anyone's going to do.
Some of the worst sex offenders in this state wear GPS tracking devices. But your
family still doesn't know where they work or just where they go every day. Brandy Hitt is here with who is protecting your families.
Well, how many high-risk sex offenders on parole do you think there are living in California right now?
Well, I'm afraid to say I don't know, and I'm afraid that it's in the thousands would be a guess.
It is in the thousands. In fact, it is 2,100, and they don't fit any specific description. These are the men and women at most risk of reoffending again. Tonight, we follow a parole agent whose job is to try and make sure they don't. Parole agent Wendy Johnson's job is to monitor 20 high-risk sex offenders living in Sacramento 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, using the GPS devices they wear on their ankles.
Whatever they tell me that they're going to do, I follow up on my computer to make sure they have done what they're supposed to do. I need you to know that I'm watching you.
Using a computer program, she makes sure all 20 are home by their curfew and that they aren't loitering where they shouldn't, because the minute they do, an alarm goes off any time of day, including if the GPS is tampered with.
An immediate phone call, 911, to let me know that they are someplace that they should not be, and we have to respond immediately. In
fact, Agent Johnson tracks their every move every day.
Hey, it's Johnson. Give me a call when you get my message.
She calls one parolee because he's no longer at work. When it takes too long to get a call back, she sends a buzz to the GPS around his ankle.
The guy who I just vibrated his leg, this is him calling me back. Hi, it's Johnson. Where are you? Oh, really? What's your friend's name? Why don't I believe that?
And she also stops by their homes for searches.
Just making sure that there's nothing in his room that he should not have, basically. Nothing to do with drugs, no pornographic movies. Hey. How are you? I'm just going to start looking around. What? Their dirty clothes? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to leave your dirty clothes alone. Okay. Who's been granted benefits? Have either of you? Are you getting it? Yeah. You are? Okay. What about you? You are? Okay, good. All right, you guys. Thank you. Okay. He's doing everything he's supposed to do now. I had to put some fire under his behind. What? He's one because initially he had no get up and go. You know what? If you're going to survive out here, you have to fend for yourself. You need a job. You need to be productive. So just go ahead and go in my office and have a seat.
Back at the office, another high-risk sex offender comes by to have his medications checked out. He's been out for just 2 months. Because we've hidden his face, you can't see his tears.
She looked at me and she said that it can be your worst enemy or it could be your best friend.
I've had parolees to ask me to lock them up. In protecting the community, it's me getting them into the programs.
Job programs, counseling, and therapy. But after all the guidance, there are some parolees that still shock her.
Well, 12-year-old little girls, when they sit down Indian style, they turns me on. And that's kind of like, whoa, he really knows, you know. Oh, when I get on the light rail and you see the little girls, I like that. You have some that are very honest about it, and that's quite frightening.
Agent Johnson and her partner are also out on the streets measuring around sex offenders' homes.
Okay, slow down. The property line of the school. This is the school, the children's center right here.
Making sure the parolee is in compliance with Jessica's law, at least 2,000 feet from any school or park.
Because if they're not in compliance, they will go to jail.
But with the constant surveillance,
We'll monitor to make sure nobody's been hanging out in this area.
GPS, alarms,
Hi, Nash, this is Agent Johnson.
phone calls,
Now that I know,
and house searches, even Agent Johnson says the system is not perfect.
you can never predict what someone's going to do, whether they're wearing a GPS system or not.
And her job gets so personal. Agent Johnson even demands to know who the parolees' friends and girlfriends are because they can't have young children. And if it's a girlfriend, she makes sure that it's clear they know what the parolee spent time in prison for. She's involved in their lives 24/7.
I believe it. I believe it. Isn't she
What
something?
a job, though.
Tough
How
job.
did she get into this?
She started out in L.A. She worked in corrections at a prison, and then she got involved in doing some gang work in L.A. So she's street smart, too, when you watch this. She
You
can't